The ships arrived at Earth on a quiet morning. Vorentus stepped out of the transport vessel and looked around at the empty city below. The buildings stood tall and proud, their windows reflecting the sunlight. Cars sat parked along the streets. Lights flickered in some windows. Everything looked normal, except for one terrible fact. There were no humans anywhere. Voren was a Catheri, a species known across the galaxy for their curiosity and love of history. He had spent 40 years studying dead civilizations, walking through ruins, and piecing together the stories of fallen empires. But this was different. Earth was not dead. It was simply empty, as if everyone had vanished in an instant. He walked down the main street of what humans had called Seoul. His team followed behind him, scanning every building and every corner. They found homes with food still on tables. They found offices with computers still running. They found schools with books open on desks. But they found no people. Not one single human remained. "This does not make sense," said Thalen Kor, walking beside Voren. Thalen was tall and thin with silver skin that shimmered in the light. He was a xenoanthropologist, someone who studied alien cultures. He had studied humans for 20 years and had always found them fascinating. Humans do not just disappear. They leave messages. They leave records. They argue and debate everything. Voren nodded slowly. "We have checked 847 human colonies across the galaxy. All empty. No bodies, no signs of war or disease. They are simply gone." The Galactic Council had called it impossible when the first reports came in. Humans were everywhere. They said humans were loud and stubborn and impossible to miss. But 3 months ago, the messages from human space had stopped. Ships sent to investigate found nothing. Station after station sat empty, their systems running on automatic, waiting for crews that would never return. Voren's team spent days searching Earth. They found something strange in an old laboratory in the mountains. A holographic projector sat on a desk, its light blinking softly. Voren pressed the activation button and stepped back. A human woman appeared in the air before them. She was young, with dark hair pulled back from her face. She wore a white coat covered in strange symbols and equations. She smiled softly at the camera. "My name is Jiwan," she said in perfect galactic standard language. "If you are watching this, then we have already gone. I want you to know that we left by choice. No one forced us. No one attacked us. We simply had work to do, and we could not do it while scattered across the galaxy." Thalen leaned forward, his eyes wide. But Jiwan's recording continued without answering. "We spent 300 years preparing for this moment. Every human in the galaxy was given a choice. Stay behind and live your life, or join us in the great work. 99% chose to come. The others passed away naturally over the years." She paused and looked directly at the camera. "You will think we abandoned you. You will think we ran away, but we did not. We are still here, still working, still hoping, and when the first light ignites, you will understand. The universe will understand." The recording ended. Voren and Thalen stood in silence for a long moment. "First light?" Voren asked quietly. "What does that mean?" Thalen shook his head. "I do not know, but I intend to find out." They brought the recording back to the Galactic Council. The Great Hall filled with representatives from 100 different species. The Dragnor Imperium sent their war archives, massive creatures covered in dark scales and battle scars. The Vest Combines sent their traders, small and quick with bright feathers. Dozens of other species filled the seats, all talking at once. When the recording played, the hall fell silent. When it ended, the arguing began immediately. "They abandoned their territories," growled Commander Thrax of the Draor. "This means their space is free for claiming. My empire will take the military stations. Their trade routes belong to whoever can use them," chirped Merchant Quillix of the Vest. "We will take those." Voren stood and raised his hand. "You want to divide up their homes like scavengers? They are not dead. They said they are still here." "Where?" Thrax demanded. "Show me one human, just one." Voren could not answer. No one had seen a human in 3 months. Not anywhere in the galaxy. The council voted to split human territories among the strongest species. Voren watched as they drew lines on maps and signed treaties. He felt sick. This was not right. Humans had been loud and annoying sometimes, but they had also been kind and creative. They had shared their music and their stories. They had helped other species when no one else would. That night, Voren stood alone on Earth, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Humanity was doing something they called the Great Work. Something important enough to leave everything behind. "What are you doing out there, Giwan?" he whispered to the empty sky. "What light are you trying to ignite?" The stars twinkled silently above him, keeping their secrets. But Voron made a promise to himself. He would not give up. He would find the humans, and he would learn the truth. He did not know that the first answer would come sooner than he expected. He did not know that in just 3 weeks, a dead star would wake up and change everything. The alert came in the middle of the night. Voron was sleeping in his ship, still orbiting Earth, when his computer began screaming warnings. He jumped out of bed and ran to the control room, his heart pounding. "What is happening?" he demanded. His ship's artificial intelligence spoke calmly. "Massive energy spike detected in Sector 7. A stellar object has ignited unexpectedly. The energy signature does not match any known natural phenomenon." Voron pulled up the data on his screens. His breath caught in his throat. Sector 7 was in former human space. The star there had been dead for millions of years. Scientists had studied it often because dead stars were useful for understanding how stars died. But according to his sensors, that star was no longer dead. It was burning brighter than most living stars. "Thalen," Voron spoke into his communicator. "Wake up. You need to see this." Within hours, Voron's ship was racing towards Sector 7. Thalen sat beside him, staring at the readings in disbelief. Other ships from the Galactic Council followed behind them. Everyone wanted to see the impossible star. When they arrived, Voron could not believe his eyes. The star burned with a strange blue-white light. It pulsed slowly like a beating heart, and around it, massive structures floated in the burning heat. Structures made of metal, and crystal structures built by someone. "Those are human designs," Thalen whispered. "I recognize the engineering patterns." Voron guided his ship closer, using every shield and protection his vessel had. The heat was incredible. It should have been impossible for anything to survive this close to a star. But the human structures were not just surviving, they were working. They found a docking port on the largest structure. When Voron and Thalen stepped inside, they found themselves in a massive facility that stretched for miles in every direction. Machines hummed and clicked all around them. Screens showed complex equations and star charts. Everything was automated, running without any living crew. "Look at this," Thalen called out. He stood in front of a memorial wall. Names were carved into the metal. Thousands of them. "These are the engineers who built this place." Voron read some of the names aloud. Hyun Woo, Miji, Dong Hun, Sora. He touched the wall gently. They left their mark here. They spent days exploring the facility. What they learned seemed impossible. The humans had built a machine that could restart a dead star. Not just restart it, but control it completely. The star burned exactly as hot as the humans wanted. It produced exactly the right kind of light and energy. It was not natural anymore. It was a tool. But why? Voron asked, staring at the star through a viewing port. Why work so hard to turn on one dead star? Thalen was reading through the computer logs. Because it is not just one star. Look at this. He pulled up a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across it. Hundreds of them. These are all dead stars in former human space. And according to this plan, they are all supposed to ignite one after another, in a specific sequence. A sequence? Voron leaned closer. For what purpose? The logs do not say. But look at the timing. The next star ignites in 4 days. Then another 5 days after that. They are building something Voron, something big. When they reported back to the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Commander Thrax of the Drayor slammed his fist on the table. This is a weapon. The humans are building a weapon. They will turn these stars against us. That makes no sense, Voron argued. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done it already. They had weapons before they left. They chose not to use them. Maybe they are building something worse. Thraxra growled. Something we cannot defend against. Merchant Quillix of the Vest was more practical. Weapon or not, these stars are in territory we claimed. We should control them. We should shut them down before the humans finish whatever they are doing. Voron felt anger rising in his chest. You want to destroy something you do not even understand. Something that took humans hundreds of years to build. We want to protect ourselves, Thrax said coldly. The council voted to send military ships to the next star scheduled to ignite. They would secure the area and prevent the ignition if possible. Voron knew this was wrong, but he could not stop them. He was just one scientist, and they were empires with armies. 4 days later, Voron watched from a safe distance as the Drayor fleet surrounded the next dead star. Massive warships positioned themselves in a defensive sphere, their weapons charged and ready. They waited for something to happen, and then it did. The star began to glow, not suddenly, but slowly. Like a flower opening to the sun, the human structures around it activated their machines, humming to life. Light spread from the core of the star, growing brighter and brighter. The Draknor ships fired their weapons at the structures, but something strange happened. The weapons did not explode when they hit. They simply stopped. Frozen in space by some kind of field, the star kept igniting, completely unbothered by the attack. Within an hour, the star was burning just like the first one. The same blue-white light, the same steady pulse. And then the star began to speak, not with words exactly. It pulsed in patterns, mathematical patterns. Voron's computer analyzed them quickly. "It is a message," his AI said. "A message encoded in light." Thalen helped him decode it. When they finished, they both sat in stunned silence. The message was simple. "We are still here. We are still working. Do not be afraid. The third light will show you more." Voron looked at Thalen. "They are talking to us through the stars themselves. They are not building a weapon," Thalen said quietly. "They are building a communication network. Or maybe something even bigger." More stars ignited over the next weeks. Each one sent messages in light. Each one added to a growing pattern across the galaxy. And finally, the messages started including coordinates. Coordinates pointing to one place, the galactic core, the center of their entire galaxy, where a supermassive black hole lurked in darkness. "They want us to come there," Voron said. "It could be dangerous," Thalen warned. "I know," Voron replied. "But I have to go. I have to know the truth." The journey to the galactic core took 3 months. Voron and Thalen traveled together in Voron's research ship, following the path of ignited stars. Behind them came ships from a dozen different species. Some came out of curiosity. Others came out of fear. The Drachor sent warships. The Vest sent merchant vessels hoping to find profit. Others came simply because they had to know. Every week, more stars ignited along their route. Each one pulsed with that strange blue-white light. Each one sent mathematical messages that pointed them forward. It was like following a trail of breadcrumbs through the darkness of space. "They planned this carefully," Thalen said one evening, studying the star maps. "Each ignition is timed perfectly, each one visible from multiple systems. They wanted to make sure we would follow." Voron nodded. "But why lead us to the galactic core? No one goes there. The radiation is too strong. The gravitational forces are too dangerous. Ships that go too close never come back. Maybe that is exactly why they chose it." Thalen suggested a place where no one would bother them while they worked. As they got closer to the core, the number of ignited stars increased. What started as one star every few days became dozens, then hundreds. They formed patterns in space, geometric shapes that stretched across light years. Triangles connected to circles, connected to spirals. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Kiravan joined their journey at the halfway point. She was a linguist from a species called the Meridian. They were small, blue-skinned people, known for their ability to understand any language. Kira had been studying the light pulses from the stars and had decoded something important. "The stars are not just sending messages," she explained to Voron and Thalan. "They are singing. Each pulse is a note in a massive song that covers the whole galaxy. And the song tells a story." "What story?" Voron asked. Kira smiled sadly. "A story about death, about ending, about a universe that is dying faster than anyone realized." She showed them her research. According to the data hidden in the starlight, humanity had discovered something terrible. The universe was not going to last as long as everyone thought. Entropy, the force that made everything break down and fade away, was accelerating. In 50,000 years, maybe less, the galaxy would become cold and dark. Too cold for life, too dark for civilization. 50,000 years sounds like a long time, Thalen said slowly. But for a galaxy, for civilizations planning their future, it is nothing. My people plan thousands of years ahead. If we knew we only had 50,000 years left, you would panic. Voron finished. Everyone would panic. Wars would start. Species would fight over the remaining resources. Yes, Kira agreed. So, Humanity decided not to tell anyone. Instead, they decided to fix it. Fix entropy? Voron laughed. But it was a hollow sound. That is impossible. Entropy is a law of the universe. You cannot change it. Maybe not change it, Kira said quietly. But maybe slow it down. Maybe buy more time. When they finally reached the edge of the galactic core, Voron thought his eyes were broken. What he saw made no sense, could not be real, but his instruments confirmed it was true. Thousands of stars danced in perfect geometric patterns around the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. Each star had been moved from its original position. Each star burned with that controlled blue-white light. They formed a massive sphere around the black hole like a garden of suns, and in the center of it all, a structure floated that made everything else look tiny. A ring of metal and crystal that wrapped around the black hole's event horizon. The ring was so large that entire planets could fit inside it. Lights shimmered across its surface. Ships moved along its edges like small insects. "This is impossible," Voron whispered. "You cannot build something this large. You cannot move stars. You cannot survive this close to a black hole." "Humans did it anyway," Thalen said, and there was awe in his voice. "They actually did it." As their small fleet approached, they received a transmission, a human voice speaking in Galactic Standard. "Welcome, friends. We have been waiting for you. Please follow the guidelines to the docking bay. We have much to show you." The guidelights led them to a section of the ring structure. The docking bay was enormous, easily holding all their ships with room for hundreds more. When Voron stepped out of his ship, he felt normal gravity under his feet. He breathed normal air. Everything was comfortable and safe. Despite being next to one of the most dangerous objects in the universe, then he saw them. Humans, dozens of them, waiting to greet the visitors. They looked healthy and happy. They smiled and waved. Some looked young, others looked old, but all of them looked alive. One woman stepped forward. Voron recognized her immediately from the holographic recording. G1. She had not aged a day in the 3 years since that message was recorded. "Hello, Vorontas," she said warmly. "We have been watching your journey. Thank you for not giving up on us." Voron's mouth opened, but no words came out. He had so many questions he did not know where to start. Jiwan smiled. "I know you have questions. Everyone does. Please come inside. Let me show you what we have built. Let me show you why we disappeared. I mean," she led them through corridors filled with humans, thousands of them, millions perhaps. The visitors passed gardens where food grew under artificial light. They passed schools where human children learned mathematics and science. They passed workshops where engineers built machines Voron did not recognize. Finally, they reached a massive observation deck. Through the transparent walls, they could see the garden of suns spinning slowly around the black hole. The view took Voron's breath away. "This is your great work," he asked. "This garden of stars, this is the beginning," Jiwan replied. "The foundation. But the real work is bigger than what you see here." She gestured to a holographic display that appeared in the air. It showed the entire galaxy with lines of light connecting millions of points. "We are building a network," Jiwan explained. "Every dead star in the galaxy will be ignited and connected. Together, they will form a web of controlled energy that covers everything. And with that energy, we can push back against entropy itself. We can give the galaxy millions of extra years of life." And our Voron stared at the display. This is the most ambitious thing I have ever heard. It is the only thing that matters." Jiwan said simply. "What good is art or music or civilization if the universe dies? We are buying time. Time for everyone." Jiwan led them to a conference room where other humans waited. Engineers, scientists, and planners. One of them, a young man named Taeyang, stepped forward to explain the technical details. "Entropy is the enemy of all life," Taeyang began. He spoke slowly, making sure everyone understood. "Everything in the universe moves toward disorder. Hot things cool down. Organized things fall apart. Stars burn out. Eventually, everything becomes cold and dark. This is natural. This is normal." He pulled up charts showing the universe's timeline. "But we discovered something terrible. The rate of entropy is accelerating. Something about dark energy is causing reality itself to break down faster than we predicted. The galaxy has maybe 50,000 years before it becomes uninhabitable." End quote. Voron watched as the other alien visitors reacted with shock. Whispers filled the room. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded proof. We spent 200 years confirming this, Yuan said calmly. We sent probes to the edges of the universe. We measured everything we could. The data is clear. The universe is dying young, so you decided to keep it secret, demanded a Drayor officer. You decided we did not deserve to know. We decided not to start a panic, Jiwan replied firmly. If we had announced this, what would have happened? Wars over resources. Species fighting to control what little time remains. Chaos and destruction while the clock ticked down. Instead, you disappeared and left us confused. The officer growled. Instead, we went to work, Taeyong said, because we found a solution. Entropy cannot be stopped, but it can be slowed. If we can control enough energy at a large enough scale, we can create pockets of stability. We can buy time. He showed them the stellar network in detail. Each ignited star was not just a light source. Each one was a node in an energy web. Together, they could redistribute heat and energy across vast distances. They could keep stars burning longer. They could stabilize regions of space that would otherwise collapse, but it requires precision. Taeyong continued. Every star must be positioned exactly right. Every burn rate must be controlled perfectly. One mistake, and the whole system fails. That is why we needed everyone. Every human in the galaxy working together toward one goal. An alien scientist raised her hand. How many humans are here? 300 billion, Jiwan answered. Almost every human who was alive when we started the project. We brought everyone here because this is where the work needs to be done. This is where the network's heart will be. Voran looked around at the massive habitat ring. You built a city large enough for 300 billion people. We built many cities, Jiwan said, with a slight smile. This ring has more living space than a 100 Earth-sized planets. We learned to build big, Jiwan. Over the next few days, the humans showed them everything. They showed them the stellar engines that controlled each star. They showed them the transportation network that moved people and resources across the galaxy. They showed them the medical technology that kept everyone healthy and extended their lifespans. They showed them the mathematical models that proved the network would work. Kiravan, the linguist, spent hours with the human scientists. When she came back to Voran, her eyes were wide with wonder. It is all true, she said. Everything they claim. I checked their data myself. The universe is dying faster than we thought. But their network can slow it down. They can buy us millions of extra years. Millions of years, Voran repeated. Maybe more, Kira said. If every species helps, if everyone contributes their knowledge and skills, the humans have proven it is possible. But they cannot maintain it alone. Not forever. They need help. That evening, Jiwan invited Voran and Thalen to a private dinner. They ate human food and drank human tea while looking out at the Garden of Suns. Why show us all this? Voran asked. Why bring us here? Crows. Jiwan set down her cup carefully. Because the hard part is not building the network. The hard part is maintaining it. We need it to last millions of years. We need it to adapt as the universe changes. One species, no matter how dedicated, cannot do that alone. We need everyone. You want us to join you? Thalen said slowly. We want to invite you. Jiwan corrected. Every species in the galaxy. This is not a human project anymore. This is a survival project for everyone. We will share everything we know. On state to have versed all our technology, all our discoveries. We ask only that you help us maintain the network. Add your knowledge to ours, your perspectives, your unique ways of thinking. Voran leaned back in his chair. And if we refuse, Jijuan looked sad. Then we continue alone. We will finish the network because it must be finished. But it will be weaker without you. Less adaptable, more likely to fail. And if it fails, everyone dies. Not just humans, everyone. You are asking for a lot of trust, Voran said. You disappeared without warning. You took all your people and left the rest of us confused. Now you want us to trust you with the future of the galaxy. Yes, Guy said simply. Because there is no other choice. The math does not lie. The universe is dying. We can save it together, or we can die alone. I know which one I choose. Later that night, Voran stood alone on an observation deck. Taeyong found him there looking out at the stars. It is beautiful, is it not? Taeyong said. We turned dead stars into living light. We gave them purpose again. It is terrifying, Voran replied honestly. The scale of what you built, the responsibility you are asking us to take on. It is overwhelming. Taeyong nodded. I felt the same way when I first joined the project. I was just an engineer. I fixed broken machines. Then they told me I would help save the galaxy. I almost ran away. What made you stay? I realized something. Taeyong said fear of responsibility is natural. But running away from responsibility when others need you, that is cowardice. The universe is dying. Someone has to try to save it. Why not us? Why not now? Voron looked at the young engineer. You really believe this will work? I know it will work, Taeyong said confidently. The math is solid. The engineering is sound. The only question is whether we work together or alone. Together is better. Together gives us the best chance. Voron thought about his own people, the Kellier. They loved knowledge. They loved preserving history. What greater history could there be than saving the entire galaxy from entropy? I will recommend that my people join you, Voron said finally. I cannot promise they will listen, but I will try. Taeyong smiled. That is all we ask. That everyone tries. Part 5. The choice. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity had not disappeared. They had not died. They had built something impossible, and now invited everyone to join them. The reactions were as varied as the species themselves. The Kaliri Council voted immediately to support the project. They sent scientists and historians to the galactic core. The Meridian followed soon after, offering their linguistic skills to help communicate across the network. Smaller species, ones who had always feared being conquered by larger empires, saw the project as hope, a chance for cooperation instead of domination. But the powerful empires hesitated. The Drachnor Imperium saw the network as a threat to their military power. If energy could be controlled and shared freely, what good were weapons? What good was conquest? Commander Thrax spoke to his war council with anger in his voice. This is a trap, he declared. Humans want us to become dependent on their network. Then they will control us, control our energy, control our worlds. His generals agreed. The Drachnor military began preparing for war. They would destroy the network before it could be completed. They would show the galaxy that the Drayor could not be controlled or manipulated. The Vest Combine had different concerns. If energy becomes free, how do we make profit? Asked Merchant Quillix. Our entire economy is based on trading resources. If the humans give everything away for free, we become worthless. Other species had their own fears and doubts. Some worried about losing their independence. Others worried about human dominance. Still others simply could not believe the entropy data and thought it was all an elaborate lie. Phelan traveled between worlds trying to convince leaders to support the project. He showed them the data. He explained the mathematics. He answered every question. But fear and suspicion were hard enemies to defeat. Meanwhile, Voron stayed at the galactic core, learning everything he could about the network. He met hundreds of human engineers and scientists. He learned their names and their stories. He learned why they had dedicated their lives to this work. One engineer named Seojun showed him the control systems. Every star is connected, Sojun explained. If one fails, the others adjust automatically. The network is alive in a way. It learns. It adapts. What happens if someone attacks it? Voron asked. Sojun smiled sadly. We designed it to be defensive only. The energy can be redirected to create barriers and shields, but we cannot use it to hurt anyone. That was our first rule when designing the system. Save life. Never take it. Even if someone tries to destroy you, even then, Sojun confirmed. If we use the network as a weapon, we would become the very thing we are trying to prevent. Chaos, destruction, death. 6 months after the invitation was extended, the Dracor fleet arrived. 5,000 warships surrounded the galactic core. They carried enough weapons to destroy planets. Commander Thrax broadcast a message to the humans and all the species watching. You will shut down your network, Thrax demanded. You will abandon this project. If you refuse, we will destroy everything you have built. You have 1 day to decide. Giwan appeared on every screen across the galaxy. She looked tired, but determined. We will not shut down the network. The galaxy needs it. All life needs it. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves, but we will not fight back with violence. Thrax laughed. Then you will die. The attack began at dawn. Draydor warships fired missiles and energy weapons at the stellar engines. They targeted the habitat ring. They tried to destroy the control systems. It was the largest military assault in galactic history. But something strange happened. The weapons never reached their targets. As soon as they got close to the ignited stars, barriers of pure light appeared. The light was not solid, but nothing could pass through it. Missiles exploded harmlessly against it. Energy weapons scattered and dissipated. Seo Jun, sitting at his control station, worked calmly with his team. They redirected energy from the stellar network, using it to create defensive shields. Every attack was blocked. Every weapon was stopped. But no Draknor ships were destroyed. No Draknor soldiers were killed. "Why do you not fight back?" Thrax screamed over the communication channel. "Why do you not defend yourselves?" "We are defending ourselves," Jiwan replied calmly. The battle lasted for 3 days. The Drachor threw everything they had at the network, but they could not break through the barriers of light. Their weapons were useless. Their ships exhausted their ammunition, and through it all, the humans did not fire a single shot in return. On the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. A Dracor scientist named Kronvar broke away from the fleet. He broadcast a message to his own people and to the entire galaxy. "I have reviewed the human data," Kronvar said. "I have checked their calculations. Everything they claim about entropy is true. Everything they claim about the network is true. They are not lying. They are not manipulating us. They are trying to save us." He showed his own research, his own calculations. Other Draur scientists watched and began checking the work themselves. Slowly, doubt crept into the Draur ranks. "Commander Thrax is wrong," Kronvar declared. "If we destroy this network, we doom ourselves. We doom everyone. I am joining the humans. I am asking all scientists to join me." One by one, Draknor ships broke formation. Their scientists and engineers came to the galactic core, wanting to see the truth for themselves. They studied the data, they examined the network, and they came to the same conclusion. The humans were telling the truth. The Dragnor military leaders tried to maintain control, but it was too late. Their own people were abandoning the war. Within a week, half the fleet had defected. Within 2 weeks, Commander Thrax stood alone, with only his most loyal ships. Thrax made one final broadcast. "You have won," he said to John. "Not through strength, not through weapons, but through truth. I do not like it, but I cannot deny what my own scientists tell me." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, almost humble. "What do you need from the Dragnor people?" G smiled. "Your strength, your discipline, your organizational skills. The network needs maintaining across millions of years. Droxor efficiency would be invaluable. Will you help us?" "Well, will you help us?" Thrax was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Yes, we will help, but I want it recorded that I still do not trust you." "That is fair," John said. "Trust must be earned. We have time to earn it." Over the next years, more species joined the project. The Vest Combine realized they could profit by helping coordinate resources across the network, rather than hoarding them. Other empires saw the benefits of cooperation. Scientists from 100 worlds came to work together. The network continued to grow. More dead stars were ignited. More connections were made. The web of light spread across the entire galaxy. And with each new star, entropy slowed just a little bit more. Time was being bought. Life was being extended. 500 years later, an old Keeltheri stood on an observation deck with a young human child. The Keeltheri was Thalen Kor. Though he was very old now, medical technology had extended his life far beyond normal, but he was still ancient. The human child was named Juno, and she had never known a galaxy without the network. "Is it true you knew Jiwan?" Juno asked. "The one who started everything?" "I did," Phelan said with a smile. "She was remarkable, strong and gentle at the same time. She believed in people even when they did not believe in themselves." "Where is she now?" Juno asked. "Still working," Phelan said. "Still making sure the network runs smoothly. She has lived for 500 years just to see this moment." "What moment?" Juno looked confused. Phelan pointed out the window. "Today, the network activates fully. Every star, every connection, every piece working together at once. Today, we see if it really works." Across the galaxy, billions of beings watch their screens. Humans, Draknor, Keeltheri, Vest, Meridian, and hundreds of other species. All waiting, all hoping. The signal was sent. 10 million stars pulsed in perfect synchronization. Light flowed through the network like blood through veins. Energy balanced and distributed across light years. Mathematics made manifest in the physical universe. And then the data came back. Entropy rates were dropping. The universe's decline was slowing. Time was being extended by millions of years. The network worked. The impossible was real. Juno looked up at Thalen with wide eyes. "We saved the galaxy. Humanity started it," Thalen said gently. "But everyone finished it together. That is the real miracle. Not the technology, not the engineering, but the cooperation, the trust, the choice to work together instead of fighting alone." In her office at the Galactic Core, Ji-Wan received the confirmation data. She was very old now, even with medical technology. But she smiled as she read the numbers. It worked. Everything worked. She sent one final message to the galaxy. "This is G1. We did it, everyone. We gave ourselves a future. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for joining us. The work continues. But today we can celebrate. The stars burn bright, and so does hope." Thalen put his hand on Juno's shoulder. "Remember this moment, child. Remember that when people said something was impossible, we did it anyway. Remember that fear and suspicion can be overcome with patience and truth. Remember that the universe may try to end, but life always finds a way to continue." Juno nodded solemnly. Then she smiled and ran off to join her friends. The young ones would carry this work forward, generation after generation, species after species, all working together to keep the light burning. The stars continued their dance around the galactic core. The network hummed with power, and somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, other civilizations saw the light and wondered what had happened there. Wondered if they could do the same. And perhaps someday they would ask and humanity would teach them. Because that was the real lesson. That was the real great work. Not just saving one galaxy, but showing the universe that life working together could overcome anything, even death itself.